Um, um, I had brought up to Dr. Dipto that people displaced could be across the spectrum. They could be coming out of high school. They could have PhDs, and I thought Scott's experience in particular would be helpful in expressing how someone who necessarily didn't start with a college degree got into the field and then matured through it. So,
So I'm Scott Ytzen. I'm with Tetra Tech. I've been with Tetra Tech for 13 years. Prior to Tetra Tech, I worked for Sanborn Mapping for about a year. It was my internship back when Pikes Peak Community College, which is now State College, but they had a GIS program and geography program. I finished my certification with them. I did finish out a coursework for an associate's of applied science, but they wouldn't transfer a lot of my old credits. And I was like, I'm not going to take college algebra when I've had Calc 3 and some other courses similar to that, physics, chemistry. Was not going to go back and take all those courses. So I just started with that. And prior to and how I found out about GIS was through my military career. I'm a 25-year Air Force retiree veteran, and I worked in the civil engineering squadron for most of my career. 6 to 7 years of that was with a communications group where I learned what is it called? Well, basically learned CAD. So my career field basically was surveying, drafting CAD, quality assurance with service contracts, construction management, project management. So it was a very diverse career over that 25 years. I saw GIS for the first time when I was stationed at Anderson Air Force Base in Guam. And they were doing a command-wide Pacific Air Force's tour demonstrating GIS. And I saw GIS in the capacity of disaster recovery and base after attack recovery that my career field was inherently responsible for. And so I saw the Aloha software, if you're familiar with that. It is a very old software, but the demonstration was we had a chemical spill on the installation, and it showed how it would track the plume due to the weather conditions and so forth, how we could set up a perimeter, react, and see all the visual in the damage control center. And that really got me interested because I had planned my career after the Air Force to be a construction manager. And I saw that and I was like, that's really what I want to do. It really opened my eyes to this career field. So I pursued my degree. And if it wasn't for one of my instructors, Roger Clark, some of you may know him uh, from Pikes Peak, he's now teaching at Texas A&M, doing construction surveys for that program. He made a recommendation to the individual at Tetra Tech who hired me, and I have worked for Tetra Tech ever since. So that's kind of been my non-traditional um, path to GIS. But I can tell you throughout my GIS career, I have fallen back on every one of my other military skill sets. It has inherently been involved. It gives me, I'd say, a lot of insight to solving those problems because of that extensive background I've had. So that's the non-traditional path that I've had that I'm sharing with you. So if anyone has any questions?
what do you do at Tetra Tech?
So at Tetra Tech, I am a GIS analyst and project manager. So actually I started out as a GIS analyst 2. I'm an analyst 4, and I moved more into the project management role now. I still do GIS work occasionally. The projects I work on vary from environmental projects, doing 3D analysis on well sampling, getting the groundwater level, doing that 3D analysis to come up with the groundwater contours each quarter for a couple of Air Force bases that we have contracts with. One of the more interesting ones over the last couple of years has been working with another operating group within Tetra Tech. And they go out and they do munition recovery from old bombing ranges and so forth. Ranges that have been closed, part of the BRAC process turned over to the community, so to get those saved. And we and mapping the results of what all the munitions they find and giving that back to the Corps of Engineers and saving those areas. I'm now getting into a lot of the reality capture. We are currently under contract. We've been out to Puget Sound Naval Station shipyard. That's where they rehab all the submarines. And we have scanned 4 million square feet of their facility so far. We will be going back out next month to do the last 1 million square feet. So we'll do a total of 5 million square feet. We're taking those scans, developing the floor plans, multiple story buildings. I think one of the buildings is 9 stories. We actually are modeling one of the dry docks that they have. They wanted that done as well. We're using NavVis VLX3 scanners to do most of the work. We have had to use like a RT360 to do some of the modeling around the dry dock, because with the LiDAR scanner in a tight area, hallways, especially if it's a shiny floor and it's long, the LiDAR scan will what we call run. And so we've had to set up a lot of targeting in this utility corridor in that dry dock, and that's why we're using the 360. And when we get done, we're putting those floor plans into Revit, modeling within Revit, identifying all the assets, and we are using some AI to help identify some of those assets that the client wants identified. And then that's going into another software called Archibus, and that's how they're going to manage their space allocation, all their assets within the facilities that they want to track as far as assets. And then eventually, they'll later phases, if they want to hire us, or they can do it internally, is to create their own digital twin with all that data and point clouds and pictures. So
That's a fascinating answer to that.
So that's pretty much what I'm doing. Write a lot of proposals. In fact, we just hired Nathan part-time, starting Monday actually of this week, and we're working on a proposal right now. So all right, cool.
How hard or easy was it to make that career transition?
From the military to civilian? For me, not very hard. It was time to go. So it wasn't that point where should I go or not go. It was pretty definite for me that it was time to go. Just going to school, and being a previous engineering student, for me it was easy. I felt like I had the skill sets that I could get whatever job at whatever point I wanted to.
Any other questions for Scott or Dr. Campbell? Thank you.
Thank you very much. I have a zillion questions, but we are now behind our time schedule, mostly because I was adding to that. But
That's just me. Yeah. So next up, we have Emily Trujillo. She's the hiring manager here for the town monument. So she's gonna talk about going from